I need to restore my honor, and only capturing your money with patreon.com/recesscastproductions can do that. I'll get honor, you get bonus episodes and early access. It's a win-win. Again, set course for patreon.com/recesscastproductions. Enjoy the show, and give me honor. Welcome to the new, the really new format, and a lot of weird stuff will be happening over the next however months. I don't know. We chose to drag this, we're choosing to drag this out. I'm your host, AJ Waseska, and I'm joined by my usual co-host, Ryan Metters. Hey, Ryan.
Ahoy.
And we have a few guests with us today. I didn't write their names down because I didn't know who all was going to be here for sure. I've got Chaz Mockimer.
Heyo.
And I've got Bo Ketchum.
What?
As I say, you haven't heard that voice in quite a while.
No. Been away.
So we have a different format today, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. Let's start with some Patreons, or not Patreon, but links down below. There's YouTube, Pippa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio. Every podcast is everywhere. You'll find us. If you Google us, you'll find us. So yeah, guys. So typically,
and if you Google yourself, you'll just come on us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, I suppose.
It was a joke on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. My bad. That was my fault.
So the format for the show is incredibly different right now, due to the fact that COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, has severely delayed damn near every release we wanted to talk about this year, which just sucks because we had Godzilla planned out, we had Bob's Burgers planned out, we had Conjuring 3 and Wonder Woman and Tenet all planned out. Ryan, we had a fucking stellar year ready for us, didn't we?
Yep. Hopefully that'll all just be pushed to 2021, where nothing bad will happen because we used up all of our horrible shit this year.
Or
That's my hope. That's my
pray.
Or maybe the studios could be nice and just stream the stuff. Pay-per-view.
Yeah, why? Like, as a side note, not to distract from what we're going to talk about Avatar, but, you know, what I've loved is, like, even though they're $20 a rental, I've really appreciated and have actually been, like, very adamant, like, not only shopping local and all that stuff, we've been renting a lot of, you know, straight to streaming new releases just to keep the support going for newer movies. So, like, what's the holdup with, like, why are we not seeing more of these, like, straight to streaming situations?
Give me Black Widow pay-per-view on Disney Plus. I will buy it day one. You got me there. Just do it, guys. Just do it.
I have, like, not even thinking about it, paid $20 to rent a movie, you know, because it's a new release, and understanding the situation and the fact that I'm not paying actual $80 when you add popcorn and all that other shit on top of it. Like, it's been actually nice just to pay $20 to watch some of these newer movies.
Yeah, it's kind of sucked, and the fact that everything's getting pushed back. Like, here's the thing: I would love to see Godzilla on the big screen, but you know what? I would rather just see it in general than never see it at all. That's my that's my logic.
Same goes for Tenet.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference? You see it on the big screen, but, like, what's the difference than our own home theaters? Like we all got. I'm sure all of us movie nerds have a little bit of a decent, like, surround sound, and we have a decent enough, like, screen situation to where it's justifiable to watch it at home in your underwear versus in a theater full of a ton of people and paying way too much money for popcorn and Reese's Pieces.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, like, I'm just not wearing anything when I'm in my own house watching my own movies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Wait, you guys are wearing clothes right now?
I mean, I gotta wear my Yoshi hat. Otherwise I feel naked.
There it is.
Fair.
The Yoshi hat stays on during sex.
No, I suited up. I put drawers on just because, like, anytime I hear Ryan's voice, my dick gets really hard. So it's like,
hey,
so
nice.
I put drawers on just to, like, so I don't get distracted by two dickheads staring at me.
I get it.
I miss you, Ryan.
I miss you too, man.
Oh, this is going to be such a weird episode. I can feel it already. So for those listening, yes, strange new season ahead. We'll be talking about Avatar, The Last Airbender, the TV show, not the sacrilegious film that does not exist. We moved on. It's gone. We're done. So the format will change a little bit. We don't normally do TV, but how we're going to do it this time around is instead of doing one movie per episode, we're going to be covering 2 Avatar episodes per episode. Unless there's a reason to do an extra one, like a third one, but we'll figure it out as we get there. It's all going to be very experimental going forward, I guarantee it. So, today we will be covering the first 2 episodes of Last Airbender. The Boy in the Iceberg and The Avatar Returns. They both aired on February 21st of 2005. I was a 15-year-old babby at this point. Directed by Dave Filoni and written by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian I can never pronounce this guy's last name. Konietzko. I think that's what it is.
Perfect. You said it right. You said it exactly right.
Yep. If I didn't, I'll edit in the correct pronunciation here. And it was animated by JM Animation. There's different animation houses they go through for this. We'll be making sure we list all of them as we're going. The cast. We have a cast here, and I'm not going to list the cast every episode, but I will be listing like new guests or new appearances whenever someone shows up. So this is the main cast going forward for the foreseeable future of the series. We have Melindy Britt, D. Bradley Baker, Makoto Mako Iwamatsu, Jack De Sena, Mae Whitman, Dante Bosco, Rufio, and Zach Tyler.
Oh yeah, Zach Tyler.
Yep.
Just kidding. I don't know who he is.
He plays Aang. Yeah. With that, we have no awards. It's the first episode of the series. I wasn't expecting any awards here. Ryan, do you have some fun facts for me?
I do. I have a couple of them to list for you. The first 2 episodes provide a generally accurate depiction of the sun's position at the southern polar region in December. We know it's December because the winter solstice occurs shortly after this. Now the sun is up around the clock. Sokka even mentions the midnight sun madness and stands relatively low over the horizon. That being said, the sun is too low for the exact pole, only about 4 to 5 degrees. At the pole, it should be around 20 degrees above the horizon in December. This can be explained if the village is about 1,000 miles away from the pole, which is still within the polar circle, though. Just some polar facts for you.
I would say it's more of a fun fact and more of a nerdy fact than a fun fact.
Well, I had fun reading it, so it's fun.
I think it was pretty. Listen, man, as penguins are my favorite animals in like the whole world. So I'm down to clown with those facts about
Penguin
my favorite
fighting!
habitat.
No, it already adjusts my my perspective going into the next couple of episodes. Like, holy shit, Ryan said the sun was out of alignment on this by 3 to 4 degrees. I need to focus in on that.
Well, next fun fact for you guys. Katara tells Aang that the Frozen Fire Nation battleship in the ocean has haunted the Southern Water Tribe ever since Kanna, her grandmother, was a little girl. In Hama's flashback, however, a character introduced in Season 3, during a Fire Nation raid where she and the other waterbenders froze said ship, Kanna is not a child, but a young adult. So we are cinema-sinsing the shit out of this.
Out of a kid's show. Nice.
They actually are doing they're actually doing TV sins episodes of Avatar here and there, and they're actually pretty entertaining to watch.
This is gonna be a quote. Like, I'm gonna say this now that we're doing episode 1. This is gonna be a quote that anytime our listeners hear us say, "This is a kid show," you must take a drink, because all my fucking notes that I have always end with ... This is a fucking kid show. So, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I like.
I got you. I got it right
Follow
here.
along, guys. This is
Cheers.
the series long drinking game.
I'm gonna get loaded during doing this.
We're probably gonna have some people with alcohol poisoning by the end of it.
Last but not least, there are no trees nearby, yet somehow the Southern Water Tribe has procured firewood to burn. I'm not entirely sure how that
I've
Wood-
always wanted
Wood
that.
benders. It's wood benders.
Right.
It's
There
hard.
has to be wood to bend.
Well, they bend it from far away. It's on the cutting floor, guys.
Bo, I've
Like,
got some
It's on
wood
the
for you.
cutting
Then.
edge. Cutting edge technology, baby.
So this is where we're going to do the initial thoughts, but I figured we'll put that in with the actual discussion here, and we'll just jump straight into synopsis. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right.
Sure.
Here we go. We are expositioned the world of Avatar. 100 Years of War, fascist dictator with small hands thinks his nation's the biggest and best nation. Smartest fireman in all the Fireland. Only the Avatar, master of all the elements, can stop him. But he vanished, and thus we begin the actual plot. Sokka and Katra are Sega bass fishing in the Arctic waters when Sokka spouts good old locker room talk. Katra goes full Karen and demands to see Sokka's manager when her water magic accidentally reveals an iceberg, and inside of it is Captain Aang America, frozen inside, and one of these big CGI sky beams, like in all the movies. They take him back to the village for some more food and exposition, but all he really wants to do is take Katra penguin sledding. Not an euphemism, I promise you. Prince Rufio sees the aforementioned skybeam. He has been on the hunt for the Avatar for the last 2 years and orders his crew to head towards the light despite his uncle saying you should never head towards the light. Katra tries to question Aang about who he is and if he knew the Avatar. Aang lies and distracts with jokes, games, and penguins. Sokka isn't happy with Aang's bullshit, and so Katra takes Aang penguin sledding, again, not a sex thing, and they find themselves at an old Fire Nation ship. And set off a trap that alerts Prince Rufio of their location. As a result, Aang is banished, and Sokka prepares his army of 4-year-olds for war. Rufio arrives in town and demands to know where the Avatar is, kind of ruining Aang's secret. Aang returns from his banishment to spare the village of Rufio's monologuing and empty threats. He is taken prisoner, and Rufio leaves. Upset, Katra and Sokka decide to to go save him with the help of Aang's sky bison, Oppa. Aang Bugs Bunnies his way past the 2 part-time guards and to Rufio's sex dungeon to retrieve his staff. Fighting happens. Katra and Sokka show up in time, having learned how to fly Oppa. Just needed to say the right words. Aang goes Avatar state, and displays his true power, crippling Rufio's little boat, and the heroes escape for a series of adventures.
10 out of 10. Yeah, that's
I am
that's
irrationally
pretty
angry with
accurate.
you right now.
Is it because I kept saying Sokka?
No, it's because you kept saying, Oppa? Dog. Oppa whom?
I was hoping Max would be here, because then he'd go, au revoir.
Opua. That's for you, Max.
Style.
But, yeah, so let's break it out, guys. So what did you all think of the introduction episodes for this series?
Oh man, do we just dive right in or what?
Yeah, we can dive right on in. Who wants to step up first? I got questions, or if you guys want to just say your piece real quick, we can do that. However you want to roll it.
I'll give you my first quick introduction to the show. I watched this when it first appeared on Netflix back 2009, I would say.
Yeah,
and
about that.
it was meant to be a show, like a cartoon show, to play for my kid. My kid was like 3 at the time, and he would like completely he would like go along with the like Earth, and he'd do all the movements with it, you know. So he'd dance along.
That's cool.
With the opening sequence. Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. And like there's a long backstory with that I've talked about before, but you know, my son, a big connection that I had with him was like he would act out these scenes with different movies and whatnot. So this is just another like opening sequence that he would dance with, or you know, not intimidate, but like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Imitate?
Imitate. Yeah. Chaz, I'm a wordsmith, by the way.
Oh, beautiful. Absolute silver tongue out here.
You could already tell, right? So he would, so he would go along with these opening sequences, and as soon as they would end, you could tell where he would just go completely bored with the show. But I would be so enthralled in every episode because there is so much content that gets packed into these episodes, and half the time I'd be looking around at like a room of nobody going, this is a fucking kid show? And I got my 3-year-old kid over here just like smashing like, Hot Wheels together, like, meh, 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 meh. And here I'm having these like emotional epiphanies watching this show because of how complex and how deep like each and every episode gets.
Well, I guess quick question for y'all then. So first episode of a show. Would these first 2 episodes, I guess we're going to count them all as one episode, would it pull you into the show today if you had never seen it before? Did these episodes in particular pull you in when you first watched it? And would you show these episodes to somebody to get them into the show?
No. So for me personally, I remember watching this show the first day it came out on Nickelodeon, right? Like I was there for it.
I'm pretty sure I was there too, actually. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I was pretty young at the time, I think, because when you say 2005 it came out, so I would have been.
Yeah, I was 15, so you had to have been like what, 8?
Shoot, I'd been pretty young. 8 or 9 probably. Yeah. Thereabouts. So I remember watching it and I was like, I don't know what's happening, and this isn't SpongeBob. Like
Dude,
I remember
SpongeBob's
thinking, like, I remember not being pulled in because, Bo was talking, it's a kid's show, but like it's not really.
It's kind of like Studio Ghibli almost, where it's like designed as a kid's show, but it's got so much more deep depth and complexity to it.
Yeah, and so I think it really, for me personally, it wasn't until I was probably, because I remember watching it on and off, I'd catch reruns every now and again, and I was like, oh, this is cool, I like the bending, I remember pretending to be like a water bender in the shower, like it was cool, but like that was just like the world was cool. I didn't care about the show, it was just the cool, oh, I can make fire, ooh, and have fun. But I remember being probably, I don't know, a young adult or like a teenager probably, and I remember really watching it because I think somebody had either the box set of all the seasons or maybe it was on Netflix or something. I watched it somewhere, and I remember being like, yo, bruh, this is some hot grade A steamy pile of best food of life right here. Like, this is amazing. Like, I remember just like, wow, this is an amazing show. Like, why wasn't I invested in this? And to go off of like what episode would I show somebody in order to get them invested in this, it wouldn't be any of the quintessential episodes. Like when I think of the series, like what are the best episodes? Like Zuko alone, Tales of Ba Sing Se, the Firebending Masters, like it wouldn't be any of those episodes. But like for me personally, I don't know, man. That's a really hard question to ask.
So I can jump in on that one. So during one of my rewatches of this show when I was in college, I had a buddy of mine. Ryan, you might remember him. David? Remember David?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So David was a roommate of mine. Big anime weeb. Good guy, though.
Big anime weeb.
Dude, he's a big
Well, that's going to be another question that we need to bring up. Is this an anime or is this a cartoon?
Well, hang on a second.
Let's hold that one.
So I was watching this episode. I think I'd gotten to the finale. Like I was in the 4-part finale of the series. He walks in the room, sits behind me, and starts watching it with me. And he's like, "So what show is this?" And I'm like, "You kidding me, right?" And he's like, "No, what is it?" And I'm like, "It's Avatar." He's like, "That's Avatar." And so then after he watches that the 4-part finale with me, he goes back and watches the whole fucking thing on his own. Then
you're talking about Bronson, aren't you?
Yep.
Yeah. God, that dude. If anyone goes missing, check that dude's basement.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it took the high quality levels of animation of the finale to finally convince him to check it out, and he loves the show. He thinks it's great. I still question his decision to like the movie at all, but more power to you, I guess. But
movie's amazing. I don't want to hear anything about it.
Fuck you.
What?
I'm
what?
kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Oh man, catch us on a side podcast where me and Chaz break down why that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's coming at you later on. Let's stay focused on what we got to do right now.
As for me, I think for this would not pull me in now. I would look at this and be like, this is just silly shit. But conceptually, it's still got some good ideas to it. So I mean, it might, but it'd be a really slow burn. If I'm trying to think of an episode I would use to pull people in, I mean, I almost want to say the episode they introduced Toph, because it's just such a fun, goofy,
You
weird
stole
episode.
my answer.
It's so good, isn't it?
I was surely about to say the Blind Bandit. Like,
It's so
that
good.
That's the intro.
episode.
That is the intro.
Oh, yeah. Well, let Ryan speak. We've kind of bullied over him this whole
I'm sorry, Ryan. Go for it.
entire episode so far.
Well, so in regards to whether this would pull me now, like, I feel like the writing was perfect for my age when it came out. Like, if it was 15, it was just silly enough to really, like, hold on onto the whole, I'm a kid show, it's gonna be fun and goofy and whatnot, but it had, like, some interesting, like, fun combat stuff, like, oh, martial arts that allow you to control the elements. Well, that's fucking ridiculous. There are guys that are punching and fire comes out. That's nuts. I want to see that. So I think it had just enough to get like younger audiences like enthralled, because it's funny but also really cool. But it also hinted at like the deeper story currents that were coming up. I mean, I was surprised that the first 2 episodes happened, and in the 3rd episode, immediately the Southern Air Temple, and I'm like, God damn, that's fast to really like dive into just like some of how sad the show can get. Episode 3. So I mean, we'll save that for next week, but. Yes, I would, if I was trying to get somebody who never heard of the show at all, I'd say watch The Blind Bandit. If you dig it, you gotta watch the whole thing. It starts off a little slow in the beginning of the show, but it's really, really good. I think during the rewatch, I'm more conscious of all the things that will come up and how the show really does foreshadowing this time around, because this is the first time that I've seen the show in a long time. Like, actually, I haven't watched it in a good long while, so yeah, I'm looking at foreshadowing now going forward.
Well, and minor spoilers, you talked about an episode coming up it'll be a while for us to get to recording, but the Storm, that has a lot of foreshadowing. I cannot wait to dive into it when we get there.
Yeah, oh man, I want to save it. I want to save that.
Yep.
It's so good. You guys will have to listen in next couple of weeks to hear that one.
I've been rewatching this like consistently, not because of this podcast, just because it's one of my favorites. And so there's so many like bullets I got in the chamber that I just want to like say right now, but I'm like reserving myself so much about so many things I want to talk about, because like rewatching it tonight, I rewatched the first 2 episodes. The first episode feels like it's 10 minutes. It goes by so quickly. And then the second episode, it accelerates. But I'm going to stop myself there, and I'm not going to watch any more episodes until my next podcast, because I want to keep everything fresh. But like reverting back to like what I remember about this show, like they hit it hard with so much content from like episode 2 and then on. And it's an emotional fucking cartoon that is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. You Bo, you bring up a really, really good point, because I think like for like throughout, like I want to say 95% of the show, just so I can cover my ass in case we come up across an episode that's just like, okay, yeah, this wasn't that great. But for like 95% of the episodes that we're going to talk about, the pacing is done amazingly. If it's a filler episode that it's just for fun, it feels like it's like a bite size. You know, like you watch it, you have some laughs, and that's it, and you're on to the next episode. But with the episodes that really have like deep, impactful story things, or really important character development, or just bomb ass fight sequences. They let you
That's-
like live in them. I don't know how the hell they're manipulating the time that way.
And it's it's almost every single episode is like that. Almost every the choreography of like them fighting. When you see oh man, I can't remember the names. The two firebenders, Iroh and
Zuko.
Zuko. Even when they do that first fucking fire strike, them just like doing the dance and the cadence of them like doing their moves, like that Tai Chi move. Like,
to shoot them out of the sky? Yeah.
Yeah. Just from Jump Street, it just like gave you this like goosebump feeling of like, holy shit, that is fucking awesome. Like, how many of us nerd kids have been in the backyard doing our, Karate Kid crane kicks? We're doing this, but like, you know what I'm saying? But like this, we're like moving elements. So like instead of kicking Johnny in the face, I'm kicking like earth, causing like a tidal wave of effects with like my dope ass Tai Chi movements. And so that really paired into there. But like the episodes are just so fucking thick with content as far as like an emotional development of each character. And what I love about it too is like there's so much comedic, like sort of whimsical. Like Aang is a 10-year-old or 12-year-old.
Yeah, like Aang's 12. He's the strongest 12-year-old ever. But he's 12.
The weight of the world is on this dude's shoulders, and there may be times when he like thinks about it, which I think are so awesome, which we'll get into because it's later episodes. But at the end of the day, that kid never forgets that he's a 12-year-old. He never forgets that it's like. It's time to have fun.
Yep.
One would argue maybe he thinks he's a 12-year-old too often because he like does all this like childish, like I'm gonna go ride this giant sea monster kind of bullshit all the time.
Right.
But that's really appropriate for his arc.
Oh, I know.
And it's really cool to see him, like especially at the beginning, like, will you go penguin sledding with me? Or it's like, okay, so I have to learn, I have to visit the air temple, and I have to find masters of all the other forms of bending so that I can save the world. But first, this place has a bomb ass giant koi fish that I want to ride, and this has a bunch of rock slides that we got to check out. That's gonna be amazing. And I'm like, okay, he's 12 years old, and I love this because the show is gonna tackle some really rough stuff, but we pair that with Aang's childlike enthusiasm, and that also allows us to really see his arc because he is a 12-year-old, and the weight of the world is slowly bringing him down over the course of the story.
Well, yeah, if you had superhuman powers and the ability to control elements, why would you not make an ultimate sledding experience and using that? You know what I mean? And just one side note, not to distract from everything that we're going to be talking about, those penguins seemed a little bit racist to cholos from South Central LA. That I'm really surprised that they didn't pull this episode like they pulled Ken Jeong's blackface character in the D&D episode of Community.
Ooh,
so I'm just
fired.
saying, if Netflix is going to pull that episode, those look like cholos on the block with their little mustaches, because every animal that they have in there, it's a mashup of different characters. So they got this like catfish looking character. Just saying, it's offensive. If you're gonna pull that episode, then you might as well pull this episode. Just saying, Netflix, please don't hear me because I don't want you pulling content. # don't censor us.
Love it. I'm gonna jump down a few questions here because I'm actually curious about this one here. So, do you feel like this episode is a proper introduction to Zuko and his character? And what expectations do you think this sets for him?
I think it was a good intro to his character because it gave you enough to be like, okay, this is the antagonist. This is obviously he's got some issues, Obviously there's a lot going on that you don't really know right away. But you can still see, like, okay, he's fighting for his honor. He has to capture the Avatar to go back home. So he's in exile. And then I think that it gives you just enough of that taste to where you can build off of it and be like, okay, So the next step is why, and then when you learn why, you're like, holy crap, like, okay, like, obviously we'll talk about this in the future
Yep,
episodes,
yep.
but like, this is some messed up stuff that happens to him, like,
No, I agree. I think he's the reason why you watch each episode. Like, all the other characters are fun and whimsical, but he is the reason. His strife and his like journey and what he's trying to accomplish is what keeps you tuned in from episode to episode. Like, you want to see him. You want to see if he's going to accomplish this goal of getting back out of exile.
absolutely. I think the big thing, like you were saying, all the rest of the characters have their development, throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Aang kind of grows up, Katara kind of grows up, Sokka kind of grows up. They all kind of have their growing up, but like, legitimately through the whole series, the core of their character is still the same. Aang is the
Yeah.
Avatar. He just grows up into becoming the Avatar and doing what he needs to do. Same with Katara and Sokka, but Zuko literally goes from being the antagonist, which, spoilers, he goes from being the antagonist to being one of the most important characters in the whole show.
Sure.
I don't think it's too far off to say that Zuko is the other protagonist of the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
I would
it's
agree.
Aang
Okay.
and Zuko. Those are the protagonists.
I've seen
of
a lot
the
of
show.
Yeah.
people break down this show to say it's a parallel story of these two characters, and the Fire Nation in general is just the antagonist. So,
Yeah.
and I like that read quite a
Ooh.
bit.
Okay.
That's
I also
interesting take. I think a different like character trail they take, but I could see where that's a valuable argument.
I think at the very beginning, it's absolutely fine to set Zuko as your antagonist, quote unquote. But I also
Yeah.
think it's really important to give Aang an antagonist that's closer to his age. So setting him as like this teenager, so it's like you keep the age range of like all the important characters around the same. And it really works as a good staging ground for everybody's stories. So I think, it's important that Zuko was as young as he was, setting up as the antagonist. But then as the story develops, you also were like, well, this guy has a really tragic backstory. And then this happens, and this happens. And
Sure.
you get it sets up that parallel storyline very, very well. So,
Well, I think angst is a really good theme that you see, like that teenage angst. You know what I mean? That young kid angst of like trying to find yourself. And I'm gonna compare it to Big Mouth.
Okay.
If you guys haven't seen it, it's an adolescent. It's a story about adolescence, and I've always liked that show because if you've gone through puberty and if you're a boy or a girl, then you can relate to this show. Which that means that's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We've all gone through puberty. We've all been a boy or we've been a girl, and the way they parlay adolescence is amazing. So the fact that these characters, the hero and the villain, are 12 and 15 years of age, I think it really is a great example of us like looking into that adolescence, and they play on that angst, like I need to prove myself. I have to learn what I need to learn and then move on. And in that later episodes, we see the impatience of, in fact, one of my favorite episodes, which I was going to say, if I'm going to play an episode for someone to watch, is the one where they have the koi fish that are in the yin and yang. Like, you see the angst of like, he makes a 12-year-old decision, but he has to make a grown man's, like, he has to command a grown man's decision. But you see where the angst takes over. And so I've always loved the fact that like they parlayed that into the series so all of us can relate to the show, very similar to Big Mouth, where I've been a teenager. Like if I had special abilities and I can move fire or I can move water, I would make those same decisions, but I also like would debate those same decisions on if I should or shouldn't do these things. And that's all on that angst of being, a teenager.
When I was looking back on this one, and you see Zuko kind of getting so there's a couple moments here which makes me feel like this might not be my favorite introduction to Zuko, and hear me out. So there's a moment where Aang returns from being from being banished to the village and knocks Zuko over, and he falls flat on his face and get the helmet fall on his butt and everything. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, so they're kind of doing a Team Rocket thing almost, where he's sort of not meant to be taken seriously at the moment. That's fine. That's cool. And then they kind of do the same thing near the end, where you see Zuko and Iroh both, launch their attacks at him, and they get just fucking parried by Aang's bullshit, where he just knocks the entire the entire cliff down on him, essentially. And this is after he's Bugs Bunny's his way through the whole fucking ship, by the way. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, so Zuko's character arc is probably one of the more serious things of the show. And I feel like this doesn't undermine him, but it does feel like it is not working tonally well with that backstory. And maybe they didn't have that planned out from the very outset. Maybe this is just like to get the story rolling, and so they just went with what they had. But I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm like, I don't feel like they're making Zuko out to be much of a threat or be a serious character. So I'm wondering exactly what the purpose of that was in the beginning. I do think it definitely sets up Aang's character really well as being this, like, overly powered, like, he can handle quite a bunch of shit on his own really easily. But I think when it comes to establishing these antagonists, I don't know, I feel like they're not as antagonistic as I would like them to be. You know what I mean?
All right, I have something for that. No, I'm sorry. Chaz, go ahead, and then I got something for that.
No, you go ahead, Ryan. You go ahead.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, when I saw that, I think what's really important is that Aang shows up at the last minute to do that, and before that, you have this massive fucking warship breaking into their village, and you have Zuko pretty much manhandling Sokka for the most part. But you see him like trying to put on this like tough guy bad boy act, and then you see Aang come in and kind of knock him over. So I don't think it undermines his character, but it also feels tonally consistent with the fact that this is a teenager and he's trying to be big and bad, and it works up until you meet the other protagonist. So it didn't really downplay him for me, but it really it put his youth also on the spotlight, which I think is a very important aspect to Zuko's story. And regarding him parrying the fucking fireball, I think it's also important that it was Zuko and Iroh, who's already an established former general, and it's their combined attack. So it's not just he Bugs Bunnies his way out of foiled him again. That moment that moment shows Aang is really, really strong. Rather than really downplaying the Fire Nation, it's just this kid is going to be this kid is the Avatar.
Well, this happens
right after he hits the Avatar state and starts flying around on a typhoon. So I don't think it's...
That's exactly what I was going to say. By episode 2, we see him already hitting the Avatar state, which is a huge progression, a character progression that even parlays into the Legend of Korra series, where you're talking about the spirit world. When you're in the Avatar state, you're in that spirit world. So I'm really surprised that they even forced him into that that state, which shows him waterbending. But I just think that goes back to that so he has to prove himself, and you could tell that he has to prove himself. But I also think that Iroh, he's banished himself in a certain sense, where both of those guys are trying to prove themselves back into the Fire Nation, and that gets translated so well in that second episode of these are guys that are not successful but bumbly, sort of, who's a who, they're trying to make their name into the Fire Nation. They're banished, but they're also very strong and talented.
I'd be willing to say that Iroh is probably bumbling on purpose because he doesn't actually want the Avatar capture.
You're saying no. You're saying that because I know how fucking hard you are for Iroh.
No, dude.
You've always loved him, but yo,
we know this because we've seen the show. Iroh banished himself. Sure, like he left, but he left to take care of Zuko. He didn't want to go in the same direction that the Fire Nation was going, and he wanted to take care of this child that was just callously tossed away.
Total spoilers. I cannot wait to break down the montage of him being locked in jail. And I think it's season 2. Oh, boy. Dude. Oh,
save it. Oh, man, save it.
Man, season 3 is going to be a fucking free
save it.
Okay. Okay. We're going to move on.
It's going to be great. Sorry.
So we're going to talk about Zuko. What expectations does this first episode set for our heroes?
I think it sets the perfect expectations. Like,
sure.
In regards to like what you guys were talking about, you have Zuko and Iroh, who, like you said, are already established in their craft, and he parries and attacks. So you already know, like, oh, dude, this guy's legit, right? Like, Aang is legit. He can do it. And you know, during the first episode, you see Katara kind of start doing a little bit of water bending. The first couple episodes, like you see, that's how they find Aang in the first place. So it's kind of like this big, what you really start to see from everything is really you're going to see Aang get better at all of the bending. You're going to see Katara start to water bend, and you're going to see them start to go through their journey. I think that's really what it sets up, and I think it sets up the series very, very well. Like, it sets up their goals very well in the first 2 episodes, which I think is one of the reasons why the show is as good as it is because there's a very clear goal and a very clear, not necessarily a clear path to get there, but like, oh, Aang needs to learn all of the bendings, and Katara is going to learn water bending, and Sokka is going to try to figure out something to do to help out. So it's just kind of, it sets up the goal for the series very well, very quick.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, Chaz, you bring up a really good point because I feel like Sokka gets passed over in a conversation regarding the opening. But as much as we feel Zuko posturing, trying to be something that his father said he should, it's the same level in Sokka, and I'm just now noticing that in the rewatch because he's trying so hard to be a warrior, and he's working with 4-year-old, but he wants to make his dad proud. And I'm like, he's set up as comedic relief, and he is comedic relief, and he's cool.
He's fucking great comedic relief.
The moment when he's great comedic relief, but the moment he puts on that war paint, I'm like, this kid's gonna be real. One day he's gonna be real strong, but like, you can see him trying so hard. So I love that about him too.
It's like you said, him and Zuko is the dichotomy of parenting, right? Like, you have the dad that showed and showered his son with affection and love and respect and said, you're going to be a great warrior, I love you. And so then after his dad is gone, he does all of this stuff out of respect for his dad, as well as trying to make his dad proud. He's like, I can protect our family and our tribe, dad, I got it, right? And then you see the other side where you have the abusive dad who's just a terrible person, and almost the son is in a similar position where he's like, I'm gonna make you proud, I'm gonna make you love me, but I'm gonna make you proud, but it's also, I'm gonna make you love me. Whereas Sokka knows that his dad loves him and cares about him. It's very interesting how you can see like the difference between like an abusive parent and a not abusive parent, and how that can play out for your kids. I mean, and legitimately in Sokka and Zuko, that's kind of how that is.
Totally agree.
For those,
shit, that was deep.
for those listening, take that as a life lesson there. You know, that how to raise your kids.
Yeah, right.
Don't be a dick. Jesus
Right.
Christ.
I mean, it should be easy to figure out, but
don't name your kid. I'm sorry, that's spoilers.
We haven't gotten into that yet.
Don't burn your kid's face off.
Todoroki style.
No, Eric! How dare you?
Ryan, you're right. Ryan, you're right. I have to say my face-off references for the finale.
Dog, you got me.
Let's see. What else do I got?
Oh man, I miss you guys.
Okay. So we talked about Iroh a little bit. I just want to throw one more thing in there for him. So, what impression does these first 2 episodes give you of his character, knowing how he evolves? And did you notice anything about him in this episode that you didn't notice before in a previous view or viewing?
The writing of Iroh is perfect. I mean, legitimately, and still, like, if you didn't know what was coming, you wouldn't have any idea, in my opinion, at least. Like, the whole time he's talking, and it seems like he's just trying to calm Zuko down to have him think rationally and have him be a planner. And you also kind of get the feeling that maybe he's just lazy and kind of just a old fat dude who just was retired, right? Like, I at least didn't ever get the impression that he is
a badass.
like this awesome dude who's like part of this, spoilers, secret organization and all this stuff. Like, he becomes this very integral part of the story. I just figured he was going to be the comic relief for the Fire Nation side, being the old uncle that's just, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Also, like, he's in the role of teaching Zuko. So like,
True.
he's training Zuko like how to be a better firebender as well. But you're right. He's also spending his time trying to give him wisdom, trying to get him to lighten the fuck up because he's far too dour for a teenager. Yes, the importance of his character is hidden so well. Please remind me to bring this up when we get to the storm, because a moment happens in that episode that I think, like, I think it perfectly encapsulates what the writers are doing with Iroh, and it's fucking brilliant.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've already made notes.
Thank you. Please remind me of that, because I want to talk about that for like an hour.
All right. So I got a couple more questions here for you. These are a little more broad strokes, but if there's anything else episode specific you want to hit up, do let me know. First off, what bending power of the 4 intrigues you the most?
Firebending. God. Fire. If anybody says anything other than firebending, you're wrong. Okay?
Right.
Because water, you gotta have water, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you have to have some sort of liquid, so it's boring. Like, garbage. Earth, gotta have earth around. Garbage. Trash. 0 out of 10. Wind is like...
Okay. I'll fight you on that, but...
But, like, you need it, so in a clutch situation, But, like,
so
wind
when
is
not
like...
standing on Earth. You're always standing on Earth.
When they were in the middle of the
ocean?
The ocean...
Because not everybody can metal bend.
Hold up.
I'm not talking the special bendings like blood bending and metal bending. I'm talking the straight, normal people bending.
I don't want to get into that either, because like you can even like dissect that even further. Like, oxygen is and everything, so then you can water bend the shit in people's lungs. But anyway, no, keep going. I'm sorry.
So honestly, I would say firebending. I think that it's the most beautiful, because it's like, in the way that they describe it in the show is amazing. How it's not destructive, it's life, right? Like, fire is life. And so, like, for me, I think that the ceremony and the tradition that's built around the fire bending, and the fact that the it's not some badgers that taught you how to do it, or the moon or whatever. Like, dude, like, that's so boring, dude. This is a dragon, dog. Now. The dragon taught me how. Like
I agree with you. Like, the way they describe it, and like not only the only element that you can bend, this is the only one that keeps on burning after. So you have to be careful, and like you have to have the absolute most control of firebending, because if you firebend something and a tree catches on fire, essentially it can burn the whole neighborhood down based on that element. If you water bend something, it's not gonna, further like damage stuff.
Ice will melt, or
Yeah,
water will evaporate, and then it'll be gone.
right. They make such a beautiful reference to like why being a firebender and control is so important. Earth, however, I think they do the coolest like effects, like what they can do with their abilities, not the special abilities. I find the most entertaining. Like shooting fire, cool, but like when I'm watching this show from episode to episode, like the Earthbenders are definitely way more entertaining and actually have way more of a surprise element than all the other bending abilities.
I'd agree with that, especially because once Toph is introduced, she makes earthbending look like a fucking
Dude,
ridiculous. She's just putting on a masterclass every time she's on screen.
I'm angry that it's not until second season till we get introduced to her.
Yeah, I was feeling that too.
She is my favorite. Rewatching this, like rewatching this, she is my favorite character. That girl is so fucking hilarious, man. She is hilarious. Ira and her are my two top characters, and I'm saying that before Aaron does, because I know Aaron's fucking so hard for that dude.
I would say Toss my personal favorite, and Iroh's like number 2, with Sokka being a probably good Sokka or Zuko being number 3. It's a tough choice.
Oh man, dude. Spoilers! I can't wait till we talk about the Sokka episode where he goes and does his the
Sokka's master.
Oh my god, yeah,
dude, that is
so good.
One of my favorite episodes of the whole show.
Chaz,
all right, so we've got Chaz on firebending. We've got Chaz on firebending. We've got Bo on earthbending. Yes. Aaron, what is your interest in bending? Like, which one would you be interested in?
So Ryan, you're also on earthbending?
No, I would probably say, for my personal interest, I would say either fire or airbending, because you're right. There's an overabundance of it, and you can do whatever with it, and the effects are amazing. I'd say personality-wise, I'm probably more of a waterbender.
Fair play.
Don't discredit yourself like that. You're clearly an airbender.
Hey! Waterbenders are no joke. Let's put that right now. Like waterbenders are for real.
I guess like you're an angel to me, so I view you flying in the heavens. So, like you're more of an airbender, I guess.
I don't know where these images come from, but they're great.
I just miss it. I miss Ryan so much.
So to answer your question, Ryan, I think personality-wise, if we're going to go off that, I think personality-wise, I'm probably more of an airbender, but...
Boo.
Let me finish. But, I've always admired the practicality of the earthbenders. You can make a home anywhere, you can build platforms to get to places anywhere, you can build defenses, you can build trenches, you can do all sorts of cool structural stuff with it that the other ones aren't capable of doing. Waterbending to an extent with ice, but there's a limited range as to where that's going to be useful. But yeah, earthbending just seems more practical to me. I'm all about practicality.
If you are outside of civilization, like if you're just like off the grid, then earthbending is that's the end all be all. That's the you can take care of yourself forever. Which is great.
That's the survivalist bunker bending style.
Yep.
Right.
Here,
like
let me ask my wife.
I'm going to make a cave real fast.
Sweetie, stop squeaking your toy. Let me ask my wife. Honey, what bending would I be? Am I a firebender, waterbender, earthbender, or airbender?
I can see him as a firebender.
She said earth.
Oh, really?
I don't know about that. I'm not.
She must think you're very dependable and sturdy. Then that's
I'm
good.
dependable and sturdy. I guess that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, honey.
Maybe it's a chef.
I mean, that's what
Maybe-
you'd want out of a life partner, I'm guessing. So I'm looking at the most.
My wife's
Like,
a
it-
waterbender.
It could also be that you're stubborn as shit, but
Because you're a dancer.
Dude. Chaz, what's so funny about this? My wife looks at me like every time I go to do like these podcasts, especially this one, she like looks at me like, why am I not doing this? So I'm so happy that you referenced her, because there's gonna be several times where like she's gonna be looking at me like, tell him the note that I told you. Tell him the note that I told you about this. So that's gonna be great. Maybe we should do a special episode of like where we do a special feature with the wives and they just gossip about how horrible of a husbands we are.
There you go. Heck
My wife would have
yeah.
fun with that.
Heck yeah, man.
Follow up that one. What nation intrigues you the most?
Oh man, Fire Nation. I want to know like.
I want to see a non-fascist Fire Nation.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
exactly. No,
Fire Nation's
exactly.
the word that.
So let's go to the ultimate origins of the story. Before that, we've always had an Avatar, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always been an Avatar, but at a certain before the Fire Nation caused war is basically what I want to see. Like, what was the spark? Oh man, that's a pun. What was the spark that caused the Fire Nation to have this need to take over the world? Because at a certain point, they were all at peace. Everything was at balance. Like, what
We get to
really
that in
like?
season 3.
We will.
Well, like,
Yeah.
There is an
but, like-
entire episode devoted to that
well,
one question.
Yeah. Right, but like, why? Like, what was the Fire Nation like before then? You know what I mean? And I guess they do delve a little bit into it, but like, it'd be nice to kind of see like what that what was the internal struggle of everyone before? Like, they're all in utopic like society before that spark happened. So like, what was that like? Maybe it's too boring for television and that's why they made the show out of it, but like, it'd be kind of interesting to see like how these people were before chaos happened.
Yeah,
I like that
I
answer.
absolutely agree. I think for me, it would have to be the air nomads. I mean, like, because you see a couple of the different temples, but you never see them full of life, at least in this show. And especially the one where they're at in season 3, I forget which one is it, the West?
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
The Western Air Temple, where it's like everything's upside down.
That sounds so cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like there's so many cool things in the show or there's so many cool things in that culture that, with the Fire Nation, you at least, get to see a little bit, not to discount what you're saying, Bo, but like you get to see a little bit of their tradition and everything and
Right.
of their cities and whatnot. But like with the air, you don't get to see just about anything. You don't get to really see much of their culture whatsoever, except in like maybe a little bit of flashback from Aang every now and again, where he's like, hanging out with Monk Gyatso and stuff, and he's like he's doing training, but he's not like, they're not doing any like the ceremony or the culture or why they're nomads. Why do they believe in letting go of everything? Why is that? I think that's just
a
kind
good
of
point.
cool.
Those nomads, that would be a great side story. They're really cool.
Ryan, how about
I
you?
forgot about them.
I personally think the water tribes are gorgeous, particularly the northern water, the North Pole water tribe was just breathtakingly beautiful, and like it's based on Inuit culture. So if I had to pick one that I was more interested in actually like being a part of, that's my choice.
Spoken
Sweet.
like a waterbender.
Okay.
Yep.
Spoken like a waterbender.
That's such a negative thing.
I know.
Snooze fest.
So for me, I would say if we're going off the current iteration of them, like what we're seeing in the show, probably the Fire Nation, because I really do like the feudal Japan model that it's based off of. Just that whole in general thing. But if we're going off like even historical like versions of stuff, then yeah, probably air nomads, because I want to see. There's a question I've always had. where are the chicks? Where are all the female airbenders? Because all we see the flashbacks of the boys. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on?
Right?
It's weird.
Dude, 2020, bro. Recognize, man. Jesus Christ.
We don't need women anymore. Just the boys need to hook up, if you know what I'm saying.
But like,
Right.
how do boys get?
It's alright. We get the female airbenders in Korra.
We do, and they're pretty good.
They're pretty damn good. I wish we had more.
Fine.
Speaking of Korra, guys, that comes out. It'll be out by now, but it'll be on Netflix in August. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just made the announcement today.
Oh, sweet.
I
think our
watched it.
podcast. Oh, not at all.
Nope, I haven't
Oh.
seen a single episode.
It's interesting. It's very
It's very different, but
steampunkish. It's pretty good.
it's different, but I think if you ignore it being the shadow of Avatar, if you let it just be its own thing, it holds up really well.
Yeah, I
Kinda,
think
sorta.
that's the big thing. If you don't focus on the fact that it is a sequel, like, and it's doing its own thing, then yeah, there are some really good things that it hits.
Yes and no. Like, I feel like it relates more of like a kind of a Ben 10 sort of like alien spiritual world, journey that they kind of go off to. I thought it was kind of interesting, but like, I thought it was a good spin-off. Like, if you want to go in like classic spin-off sort of formula, they followed it very, very well. You know what I mean? Plus, I want to be Tenzin one of these days for Halloween with the beard.
There you go.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, hell yeah, man.
Final question before we do the wrap up, and the wrap up will have to be figured out here in a second. What are you most excited for going forward with the new season of the After Credits covering Last Airbender?
Talking to you guys about the Last Airbender.
Aww.
Dude, and just really, yeah, like kind of going off of that, like just getting kind of other people's perspective on the show. I mean, I think as a general populace, I've never met anybody that hated the show, but at the same time, it's nice to like just talk to people about their opinion on, oh, did you like it? What didn't you like about it? What was your favorite episode? That kind of stuff. And it'll just be kind of cool to get everybody's hot takes, if you will. Like, for example, dropping this right here, right now, this show is 1,000 times better than Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I will fight anybody.
What?
I mean, come on now. Like, no, look at the elements of this show, though, Ryan. Right. Look at the elements of the show. This show is like.
Brian, are you about to
geared
fight me right now?
He's gonna punch you through the internet. That's what he's gonna do.
I'm considering your position right now. I'm strongly considering your position.
This show is geared towards like take another drink, but this is a kids show. This is an afternoon Nickelodeon kids show that I wrote off at my age because it was just a kids show. Like, why would I spend my afternoons watching this when I had to go to my job? I had to go do this. This show is like so much different than any other show out there based on the time it was being played, the demographic it was geared for. And that makes it one of the best animated cartoons of all time. Like, the other shows that you mentioned are good, but fuck, man, this was just a head above the rest.
You know what? That's a very strong argument in terms of what this show does. This show really transcends the genre and the audience that it's written for, and it delivers like 3 times over what you'd expect out of a show like this.
Right.
So that, I the initial idea seemed like blasphemous to me, but now that I'm really thinking about it, okay, I can see where you're coming from.
No spoilers. But like we get into the koi fish pond. I'm not gonna say too much about it because I want to really delve into it when we get there. But like when I watched that episode about Yang's choice about does he like keep the peace as in the Avatar state or does he go save his girl? this show played at 2:00 in the afternoon to fucking 10-year-olds. Like, you're talking about the balance of life. You're talking about like the life's
Is it
greatest
okay to kill
essentials.
people or not? Like,
Right. Like, I'm looking at
like
my
if
wife.
this person is threatening the lives of thousands
Right.
and millions of people, is it okay to kill him?
I'm
This is
looking
a
at
kid
my
show.
wife. I'm looking at my wife with our 3-year-old son at the time, thinking this is a show that he was gonna like enjoy. Like, obviously, minus the flashing colors is the only thing that entertained him. But like, fucking me and her are looking at each other, and we had like a live conversation about this shit. And then at the end of the day, this shit played at the afternoon after you're eating Pop-Tarts, you're eating a fucking granola bar, you're eating a fucking, a snack pack, and you're watching the show. This makes it the best animated series of all time.
I agree. I mean, I honestly, like, this is probably my favorite show of all time. I would be.
It holds a special spot.
I would
up
honestly
there
be
for
willing
me.
to put that out there. It's probably
yeah.
this, and then Futurama right underneath.
Dude, I was thinking the
That's
same
a great
thing.
rewatch. That's a great rewatch. I've been rewatching that. It goes along Idiocracy, which is obviously written by Mike Judge, who wrote, Futurama. Those shows right now are so relevant, it's almost fucking scary. Those shows should be considered like a horror show because of how relevant they are for our future. Like, it's transcend from comedy, slapstick, tongue-in-cheek to like reality horror at this point.
Yup. I don't remember what the original question was. I'm sorry.
What else are you
But
excited for?
it was
the season?
what are you looking forward most to
Just talking
going forward?
Yeah.
What's your favorite
Talking with the
pizza?
boys.
I think
Ryan,
what's your favorite pizza was the question.
Ryan, how about you?
I am absolutely going to enjoy these discussions, but I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is the rewatch itself, because I will admit I was a little hesitant regarding doing an entire TV series podcast and like breaking it down episode by episode, but it's been years since I've seen this, and as I'm watching it, I'm seeing things that I didn't see before. I'm seeing all of the foreshadowing that's done. I'm getting reacquainted with just how fucking good the show is. So the rewatch itself is what I'm looking forward to most.
I'm looking forward to the experimental nature of this season. This episode is going to be one of the unique ones where we get to sit down and just do one basic episode the whole way through, because it's a two-parter. But going forward, we're going to have like episodes that are just like two different episodes, and so we'll be switching tracks halfway through and doing some weird shit, and it's going to be a wild ride to keep up with it, but I think it'll be fun. And having all the different guests on here, because I know you two are going to be in for a lot of them. I know Nicole wants to jump into quite a few of them. Robbie, once we get a hold of him, we'll figure some stuff out there too.
Oh, Nicole. I miss Nicole. She's great.
Yeah. We're going to have a fun crew doing all sorts of weird stuff, and it's going to be a unique season, but it's going to be something worth jumping into at the end of 2020, going into 2021. It'll be good. It'll be a good break from what we normally do.
Make sure you edit this out, but my manager will contact you if I'm not in 80% of these episodes. So just make sure, in order for you guys to keep that headache out of the way, just
well, I'll do some math
make sure
here.
it's assumed that.
Ryan, what's 80% of 61 episodes?
A lot.
6 times 8.
What's 0% of the money we make off
that's
these
48.
times 0%?
There you go.
It's about 48 some odd.
Okay,
48 episodes.
About 48 episodes.
Sign me up, brother. I'll be here every Tuesday.
Sign me up, brother. This is gonna be fun. Well, once I know what the schedule is, we will break it down more. But I'll definitely get this going, and then I'll have to get some other stuff edited. But it'll be a fun trip. We should probably actually wrap up the episode here. So, gentlemen, Ryan, this is the part I'm actually going to struggle with here. How do we want to review these episodes, or do we even want to review the episodes individually? Like, what do you think?
I'm not too sure about. I mean, we could do a quicker round of rating and just give each episode individually a rating. We would just have to make sure we do it quicker.
Fair enough. We dawdled a bit getting here, that's for sure.
Maybe do it a simplified version of just gold, silver, or bronze.
Yeah, I don't think there's any shit episodes for sure, so we could probably do that.
Yeah, I don't know about the rating system. What if we did like a chime in at the end of the season and just gave it an overall rating? Because I don't know. I feel like there's so much content going into the future or going into the season. Like to rate these first two episodes, like the first episode felt like it was 5 minutes long. The second episode compiled a lot of different information, but like there's no way I can rate that compared to the later season or the later episodes because how fucking good those are too. So I'm not sure, but you also know that I'm like totally hard for like the gold ratings too. So
well, yeah, I mean you gave platinums out to everything.
Man, I handed that shit out, man. So I guess
what if we limit the ratings to not the series overall, but the season? So you're not comparing season 1 episodes with season 3 episodes because there's the understanding that the show is progressively getting better and it's learning its
so you're saying like
strengths and capitalizing on them as it goes on.
So you're saying as we review these episodes for season 1, we're only comparing to season 1.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Cool.
That's fair. So we'll also narrow the scope too. We'll also narrow the scope too, just to platinum to bronze, and that's it. None of the other stuff below, because obviously everything in the show is pretty dang good otherwise. Yeah. So let's just do a quick round of that. What do y'all think of these first 2 episodes?
Platinum.
Silver.
Wait.
I'd go silver. I think kind of like we were talking earlier, like especially when I first watched this as a young individual and then going forward in my life, it wasn't it didn't grab me as much as I thought. Like it didn't hook me as much as I thought the first couple episodes of a show should. They were still fantastic, so like in the grand scheme of all of life in general, like these are still gold for me. But in terms of season 1, I would say compared to the other episodes, I would say that we're still sitting at like a silver.
Okay.
Bo?
All right, check this out. I'm gonna throw a curveball you guys' way. I'm gonna give this a bronze. I'm gonna go low. Oh, I know. Historically speaking, I go pretty high on these things, but based on what I know of the season and what's about to be in store for us, I feel like this is going to be on a bronze level. Yes, it was good. It kind of it raised an eyebrow to where and this is based on the rewatch versus just watching these episode by episode as I do this podcast. This was interesting. It wasn't altogether compiled with a bunch of content, a bunch of different stuff, but I know what we're about to be endured with, and based on the first 2 episodes, I'm gonna give it a bronze. We got some really good episodes ahead of us.
That's fair. I would give the first episode a bronze and the second episode a silver. I think overall it works as a very good introduction to the world, and for 12 to 15-year-olds, I thought it hit a good amount of the notes that you would want to get people interested to come back and see the next episode. But yeah, compared to some of the episodes that were a little worse than these coming up, and some of the episodes that are fucking amazing in regards to the whole series, let alone the first season. Yeah, I'd give the first one. It was just kind of baseline to set us up bronze, and then we get introduced to the Avatar state, and the adventure kicks off in earnest. So yeah, bronze for first and silver for second.
I'll concur with Ryan. I actually do like how you split them up like that, and yeah, no, I think episode 2 really kicks things off a lot stronger than episode 1 does. Not that it's bad, just that episode 2 really starts like, okay, now you got all the pieces in place, let's get the ball rolling, let's do this. So I think it handles it quite well. So I would say it's probably where I line up to. Next week, or whenever I decide to upload these, I don't know if I'm going to do 2 a week or 1 a week or one every other week. I don't know what I'm doing yet. This whole thing's experimental. The next time you hear Avatar Last Airbender podcast stuff, it'll be covering episodes 3 and 4, Southern Air Temple, and I think it's Wars of Kyoshi.
Kyoshi.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh my god, so many good episodes coming up.
Yep. So tune in for that, and as always, we will see you after the credits.
Bye.